Hi friends, and welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan Hebert, and this is where I share my insights. And today I'm talking about breezing through life, not bracing for it. I want to talk about the principles of life being transitory, and that although it may seem like you're coming to an end, life feels like it squeezes you through a tight space, and there are techniques of getting through unscathed and with no fear. Stick around. I will always sing the virtues and praises of physical health, which I want to encourage you to explore, because your body will teach you so much, particularly if you put it through essentially persecution. But we don't want to. We want to surround ourselves by comfort, and the opposing force seems to be endurance, suffering, and pain. But there are ways of minimizing this suffering and pain in your understanding of physical health, because it parallels metaphysical health or spiritual health. I've been working with a trainer now for about a year, much younger than me. And he is preparing for a major swim, like an 11-hour swim. It's insane. And he has taught me of the importance of the breath. This is particularly true in abdominal work. Our hour-long sessions always begin with 15 minutes of intense core. And I call it persecution because it is. It's torture. The abdominal work. And I'm not talking about sit-ups. I'm talking about V-up twists, stability ball crunches, stability ball planks, side plank twists, hollow holds, all these things where the core has to support the body. Hanging on the bar, leg lifts, all that stuff that make people go, ooh. But I have learned something through that. And Isaac's brother sometimes works with us. And his brother is really good about reminding people, especially in the core work, to breathe through it. This is really important because the tendency is to brace yourself, hold the breath back, when the muscles need the release of the air. The air must flow. Deep connection to the inner core. That's the fuel for the muscle to not cave in. So it's kind of a slower, deeper connection to the flow of air. Now, when you're in a constricted space, if you've ever been in an elevator or something, the only thing that you can do is breathe in those moments. But we forget. The mind is, people have to be reminded, breathe. That's your superpower, the breath. Now, there are also interesting techniques in doing a squat. So you've got the bar on the back of your shoulders, and you've unracked the weights, and your body is standing upright, rigid. You have to bend the body with all that weight on your shoulders. So on the way down, you can brace yourself and follow through on that movement, but then you got to stand back up. And you must learn the technique of to get the uplifting movement, which is arguably harder, particularly after you've been doing a bunch of sets. The uplifting movement is a release. And the same is true with the bench press. On the way down, brace, and on the way up, release as you oppose gravity. And this is counterintuitive to the mind, which is constantly saying, or in some fashion, brace yourself. And you can see why people walk around in fear all the time. You can see it in rigidity. So spiritual books like the Tao Te Ching, for example, are filled with images of bamboo, grass, or water. Words like supple. Images like liquid. We used to have a mayor here in my town, and the traffic here is awful. And he would say things like, traffic is like water. It always gets to where it's going. Yeah, but it's got to squeeze through a bottleneck. And it's a lot like an hourglass. And I think the universe is going back and forth through an hourglass, and it squeezes itself through a little central, and it flips itself. So you have people that erroneously believe that the earth is flat. You know, there's a flat earth mind, which is dualistic. Like, I'm going to go over the cliff. Brace yourself. Like, you know. And you must remind yourself that even death is transitory. People who have been through death, there are people who have experienced clinical death, who explain it is the most ultimate letting go, which is an interesting parallel in physics. When you die, you shit yourself, I think. Your bowels evacuate, and you can sense in people the maleness. And we must make room for the femaleness of everything. So the mind is basically male. It's always protruding with a thought, which is thought, 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 thought. You're being assaulted by your own thinking, your own male dominance. Even those who identify as female in the physical sense, the mind is assaulting you like this. And so you're constantly bracing yourself. And it's that kind of life that we live. That is until you discover the female. This is male, and the openness is female. It's not until you open the mind and release and dilate, breathe out, that you realize what you've been missing. You've had the hourglass turned, and you see the sand going, oh no! And then so you realize, oh, I can flip the hourglass around. and slowly emit the air out to aspire. Now you have interesting words that are related to the word spirit. And spirit is related to the word spire. Now a spire is a tall object that gets thin at the top. And it's fat at the bottom. Another hourglass image. And fear is fat at the bottom. It braces itself. And then life shows you who's boss, and it's not you. It topples over. And so right now, if you pay attention to the news and the stock market and all this stuff, brace yourself. And then you got people who are like, the hourglass is about to flip. We're on a wave. Yes, the stock market crashed in 1928. All kinds of horrible things have happened. Civilizations have vanished. But then you have these offshoots, these people who have begun to see we're on the verge of the cusp, or a cusp of a new age, a new incarnation, possibly even of our own country. This is interesting. Yes, we might have to go through a thin space, but we need people who can breathe, who are breathing. The obstetrician is going to tell the birthing mother to breathe. Breathing techniques. They got to learn the breathing techniques. When you're holding a plank, you must remember to breathe. Tax season, I haven't done my taxes yet, but you're going to have to maybe write a big fat check to the IRS. Breathe out. Let the money go. When the doctor calls and they say, we need you to call us back immediately, you can sense that. Breathe and call them. Yes, this is Ryan Hebert. I got a phone call. Let the information come in. Mr. Hebert, we found a spot on your liver, or blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And you say, what do we do next? Yes, we have a recommendation for an oncologist. We want you to go have a biopsy. Go to the next thing. Breathe. Even if you end up in hospice, you're going to breathe. And when you die, you're going to breathe or breathe through it. You see? Everything is transitory. Death is even transitory. And the mind is saying, no, it's dangerous. Speaking to my ex-husband, 2 days ago. And I said, are you afraid to die? He said, death is dangerous. And so there are words like aspire, conspire, inspire. This is where things get thin at the top, but there's a strength at the bottom, but at the top there's a pliability that's like bamboo. So the thickness at the bottom is your soul. The thinness at the top is your form. And a lot of people have that reversed. They think the form is the highest, and the soul is some kind of thing. And those of us who have converted and flipped the image backwards, the thinnest part, or the most unimportant part, is the form. But the foundation is the soul, through which all sorts of great things come. And so the top, or the alpha, is meekness, humility, softness, and suppleness. And your idea of the alpha changes. Most people think the alpha, or the alpha male, is one who dominates bullies, pushes people around, shows people who's boss, but not in the animal kingdom. The alpha male in primates and in dogs is usually the one, is the more mature one. The one who breaks up fights and says, hey, settle down. He might be the biggest one, but he's not the bully. He doesn't pick fights. He maintains order, and he's generally, or she, could be a she, generally well liked in the tribe. Got good vibes, kind of preside, meaning in the middle. Not going to pick fights, going to break up fights, going to maintain some peace. No, you can't be a bully, and no, you can't be a victim. Trying to encourage the underdogs and keep the ones who misperceive alpha in their place. Right? So spiritual teaching is about finding that wonderful middle space where you're going to get through tough times without bracing. How do you do this? All right. Well, you're in traffic and the person in front of you stops. Notice your butt twitch. Someone challenges you. You got to write a check. You got to go to the doctor and deal with this thing. You got to pay the IRS. You got to go to court. You got to pay this parking ticket. Whatever it is that feels like is rubbing up against you. If you brace, you get hurt. When you breathe, it's less. And I can talk to you about like sophisticated organ music, which is, say, if you're playing, I like to use the music of Bach because it's just insanely difficult to play. When you get to those difficult passages, you want to, and the secret is to let the fingers bring you through those tricky passages with alertness and breath. When you're holding a plank, your muscles need that deep, deep flow of oxygen. And this is how you aspire. Aspire, thin at the top, flexible. And then the foundation is a soul, a belief, a faith in yourself. Knowing that this is a world without end. This is a world without end. It's a transitory world, and it remains that way. Even if there's drastic shifts, climate change is going to make drastic shifts on the planet. And there will be people who will not brace but breathe, and they'll get great ideas to solve the problem. That's what a pioneer is. They're an offshoot of common thought. We might not need to colonize new planets. We might be able to make this one better, more inhabitable, because we are hospitable, not hostile. Not hostile. At the gym, you're not torturing your body. You're not persecuting it. You're building it. And that's how you build a world, I suppose. You'll see how resilient you are, how capable you are, and how much potential there is as it thins at the top. And that the individual self gets out of the way. And you just realize you're just a spirit, a breath. Oh, yeah. Breathe through the plank. Breathe through the squat. Breathe through the small spaces. And that's how you breeze through. You make it easy for yourself by keeping the flow. Okay, so I want you to practice. Practice at red lights. That's a great one. Red lights. Confrontations by colleagues. The cost of items, boy, that is a good one. As prices rise, see how you can breeze through it. As your portfolios descend, see how you can breathe through it. As you get that diagnosis, that bad news, whatever the case may be, it begins with with the releasement of the breath, and that gets the flow moving again. And that's what builds character, endurance, and strength spiritually. And you can aspire to great things. Because in the face of fear, if you brace up, you lose. When you breathe out, you release more potential. My name is Ryan Hebert. Please check out my blog, mymorningmotivator.com, and I hope you enjoyed these insights today.